Well, hello. Here we are again. This is Frantz Kantor, cartoonist, illustrator, Tinker Tailor Spy. Welcome back to the craziness of the situation of the time. We're living through crazy times. So we're going to do another drawing, and I'm going to do another caricature. Caricatures are really good fun. They're a way of I find it interesting. They kind of expedite the learning process in drawing because you're changing a lot of the rules while you're going. I just thought I didn't bring my blue pencil over, so we'll try and use a brown pencil over here. Today's subject is this young man here, Kurt Russell, and he is a fantastic subject. The other day we did his wife, Goldie Hawn. And Kurt Russell, of course, is a film star. He's been in many, many films. Overboard, Tango and Cash, Backdraft, Tombstone, Stargate. Whoa, wonderful film that. Miracle, Sky High, Death Proof, Hateful Eight, fantastic film. Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Of course, I love him from The Thing, the John Carpenter film, Escape from New York, The Hateful Eight, of course, Big Trouble in Little China, and that was a great film. Another Carpenter film, and also, you know what? I remember him from when I was a kid watching Disney films. Some of them in the theatre, most of them on TV. Wonderful World of Disney, things like that. The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, and there was one, I think, Now You See Him, Now You Don't, I think it was, or something, about an invisibility thing. The reason why I'm mentioning it, because back in the early 60s, the days of flubber, Disney was really interested in science as a vehicle, story vehicle. And that's why they came up. He did quite a few of those films. That was the same era as like Ask Mr. Wizard, which was a famous TV program where some kids will ask a science teacher, would go to his laboratory and ask him to show them physics and chemistry and things like that. So you do little to us as kids are kind of like magic tricks, but they're really, it's science. So there was a great interest in science, obviously, from the 50s to the early 70s, when I would have seen these on TV, like Super Flying Fun Show, etc. All right, so he was also in he's been in several TV shows. This is a nice shot of him, quite a recent one. This is from Big Trouble in Little China, and with Kim Cattrall. And this is a great Drew Struzan poster of that. It's very, very famous. I've got one of those posters as well. One day I'll put it up. He was a great character. This is him as Quanto, Quanto, I think, Quanto, from the Quest, I think, or the Challenge. I think it's the Quest. Show on Lost in Space, as with Will Robinson, Billy Mooney, and this was a great episode in the first series. They did black and white, was really great for Lost in Space because it hid a lot of the silliness of the rubber mask monsters and aliens. When they went into color, of course, it became obvious that budget requirements. So comparatively, you compare it to, say, a show like Star Trek. Star Trek would have humanoid aliens usually, so you just a paint job, a little bit of prosthetics, Occasionally, with I think it was the Arena where he was fighting an alien with a lizard head. So there's no movement in the lizard head, no talking at all. It's obviously a character wearing a rubber mask. Well, that was the situation with Lost in Space. So most of the aliens had, they're either humanoid or they had silly rubber masks. And the black and white just sort of, it had a different tone about it. This is him with his father, the king, in The Quest, in Lost in Space. This, of course, is Michael Ansara, who's married to Barbara Eden. So he played, I think, the Blue Gin or something in Ivory Mugini. This is him, Kurt, with Napoleon Solo in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. So, you know, as a kid star like Billy Mummy, you pretty much, you know, you see him pop up here and there in a lot of shows. This, I don't know where this is from, probably Bonanza or somewhere. And this is him from, I think, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And I haven't seen this. This is like a very gruff Santa Claus character. This is him with John Carpenter mucking around. This is him with his wife, and he's got these Hateful Eight mutton chop things with a mustache, and the side levers intertwine and make love, sweet love. So they kind of create this animal tusky type of shape in the face, which we're not drawing today. Interesting though, isn't it? Alright, so this is the, I think, just approximately the era. You could see his features are, you know, his eyes are features. He's got very deep set eyes. And he has, you know, quite strong muscular attributes to his face, which you'd expect from an actor. So he's got these deep dimples. And what else? And you can start to see his face hasn't really changed that much from his younger days. So it's just gotten a few more wrinkles and things, but basically there's no expression changes, is there? Looks very similar. This is him as Snake Plissken, Escape from New York. This is obviously Big Trouble in Little China again. And, you know, that's it. So let's go back to the pictures that we're going to be working from. So I like this one because it's very typical of his smile. It's quite big, so it's cropped. So the hair is cropped out. So I'm going to use some information, probably from this, you know, as to what the rest of the hair looks like. So he's got quite long hair usually. All right, so that's what we're going to do. So I've taken the opportunity to do a quick thumbnail sketch exploring some of the possibilities. This is a more simplified version. I like doing these sort of cartoony caricatures because it works out the shape without any like a lot of detail, and you kind of make decisions as to the importance of the elements, like the nose. Maybe you make that a little bit bigger, and the eyes a little bit smaller. So while they're simplified like this, you can exaggerate their positioning. Okay, so again, like we always do, we're going to build a dialogue between the features of the face, and that just means that you're constantly referring back to each of the features, right? The nose, the eyes, and the mouth, and to create a sense of dialogue or sense of relationships between the elements. Okay, that just means that if the face is in perspective, which it usually is, I'll exaggerate the perspective here just to give you an idea of what we're contending with here. Okay, so you've got the nose, the mouth, the eyes. So you can see that this is a bit more squashed over there. That means that the face is a 3/4 angle, and perspective is squashing those vertical proportions. Okay, so you can see that's narrower there and wider there. That's just the effective perspective. So again, we're not going to rule any lines up. We're not ruling a horizon line or vanishing points or anything like that. We're just keeping that in mind while we sketch. Other things to note is the anatomy of the face, of course. The face has a bunch of muscles. It's very, very articulate. So, you know, apart from the skull structure, we'll look at the skull very, very quickly. Under the muscles, there's the skull. Of course, if you want perspective acting on the skull, you have a three-quarter view like this. Okay, so that you're obviously aware now of elements, hard elements of the skull that sometimes protrude close to the skin, or they are evident through the skin, like the forehead usually, cheekbones, maybe the bridge, the top of the nose. Anything that you can sort of refer to. So you think of that when you're looking at the reference, when you're paying attention to the reference. Also the structure of the muscles, right? They're very, very intricate, aren't they? It's like a webbing of structure. And those things are to create this incredibly articulate object, which is the face. So more than any animal, we use the face to communicate emotions and feelings. You know, one perfect example is raising the eyebrows, which animals can't do. Not sustained and not for any particular meaning, in any case, if you're looking at seagulls, which you shouldn't, they don't have eyebrows. All right, so this is what we're going to look for. And also with this photograph, it's kind of, you know, handy, I guess, to think of the light direction, because that gives us an indicator of where we should favor shadows. So if we were to simplify this shape even more, then, you know, it would be something like that. And if we were to shade it the way we want to, it would be shaded something like that. So that means that any object like noses, eye sockets, etc., would be referencing that light direction, including casting shadows on clothes and the neck, etc., etc. All right, so I've taken the opportunity to rework this thumbnail sketch, or these thumbnail sketches, onto the grey toned paper. So let's try to get started here. So I've roughed it out basically, and I've referred heavily to the thumbnail sketch. The thumbnail sketch, I was looking at the photograph. But then I wanted to keep that sort of shape and simplicity. All right, so let's try to zero in, and I like to kind of look at the starting point is usually in the area that we're going to focus attention on, this mask zone, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, and that's where our attention is going to be centered in order to get a believable amount of detail and a sense of recognition. So the exaggeration of the shapes that I've done very quickly with a simple thumbnail sketch, I'm adhering to that. So everything that I'm transferring details and contours over from the photograph, like referring back and forth to the photograph. If you can't see this in Photoshop, I am streaming live. I was streaming live. Sorry, 1 second. Hit the wrong button. So I was streaming live. Now I'm streaming live. Okay. Sorry about that, Chief. So now we're cooking with gas. If you want to check this out, I'm doing this live on YouTube, so you'll be able to look at the picture on the left and the right. All right, so going back to our YouTube things, I'll fix this up. We're going to concentrate on the mask zone, this area, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, and we've got a a light source in our mind, which is going to be on the top left, and of course it's going to be throwing shadows on the bottom right of the form. So there we go, and I've taken the opportunity to sketch up the thumbnail sketch, and now we're going to go into and zero in to Kurt's face. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. So it's not, there's no real system involved. It's just really up to you to, explore possibilities. You're just really exploring, what things you can make bigger and other things smaller, depending on your impressions of the forms that you're seeing. So there's no sort of plan involved, and every time you do a caricature, you might do a different take. You might enhance or make something bigger that wasn't bigger before, and something smaller that wasn't smaller before, just to sort of see, if it's possible, if you can get a sense of recognition from the elements that you're changing or moving around. So again, it's a matter of decision that you make, whether something is big or small. It's a challenge. You just sort of have to see if it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you won't get a recognition factor. It won't be believable enough for you. So you just have to take that on board and remember that the whole process itself is the reason for the caricature, not the end result. So every time you put pencil to paper, you're actually learning a hell of a lot about things, especially with caricatures, because it's a fun way of finding out, of attacking details and finding out relevant proportions and understanding those proportions so that you can expand them and exaggerate them. Because caricature, for me at least, is a process of simplification, as you can see with the thumbnail, right? That's pretty simple. And exaggeration, so you're moving a lot of the relationships, the dialogue between the eyes and nose and the mouth. You're moving the spaces around and the sizes. Okay. Yeah, so just take your time and just sort of play with possibilities. That's it. That's really the order of the day. It's got some great spidery lines here. It's obviously spent quite a deal of time in the outdoors. I think it's kind of showing a little bit of these telltale squinting lines that come from contracting the muscles around the eyes to let in, to reduce the amount of light coming in. Very strong brows. We'll talk about his career in a sec. It's John Carpenter has a really interesting career, I think, and his films are very interesting because not all of them are as serious as, say, Alien. Alien, The Thing. So some of them are quite interesting and silly, like Big Trouble in Little China or Tremors, another film that I really like. And Kurt Russell's kind of a man for all seasons in many ways with, I like this, trying to get the hair patterns, hair direction. Pencil's really good for capturing hair details, a feeling of hair, because it sort of approximates the strands of hair. So each stroke equals a strand type of situation. Now, you have to think very carefully with I'm going to go back to the other photograph, I think, to finish that side, because even though the hair is has natural forms, and you know, those are things that we have to look at, because it's the overall pattern or the force of the hair. The force of the hair? I guess it's like a slow force, like a slow waterfall. You know, they have this sort of patterning situation, so we need to sort of keep an eye on what the direction of those tufts are. There we go. So these are like little details that you work with here and there. Ears are nice, aren't they? I have to look at the ears individually, even though most of the time ears have a general shape and structure. They do vary from person to person, so you can't have a situation where one ear fits all. Okay, go back to the larger picture. It's a nice clear shot, I think. Okay. Alright. So we've still got some like pores in your skin, or very small freckles or something, sun spots or something, I guess. So it'd be nice to refer to that if I can. Okay, so we're losing a little bit of detail around the eyes. But the most important thing is, because he's got grey eyes, there is a general lightness to the iris that we need to keep in proper proper context. So the best way to show light at the eyes is to reduce the shape or the size of the pupil, and have enough light available in the drawing so that it makes sense that the eyes would be that light. Otherwise, you'd have to hide it in shadow. Some lovely structure over here. Let's try to get that shine in the cheek in the right area. We've moved things around. So I'm using terracotta. This is no, Indian red. This is a hard pencil, polychromo. I'll also be using terracotta. This is a Prismacolor. Now Prismacolors are a softer pencil, and I'll also be using probably a polychromo hard white and a Prismacolor soft white. And I might even use the Tuscan red, which is a Prismacolor. And of course, for the details, for the contrast, the black will be the Faber-Castell Polychromo Black 199. So actually make 3 grades of black. There's a I think there's a 099, which is a soft black, and there's a harder black, I think, and the normal one that comes out with the set of color pencils, or you actually buy these individually rather than sets. This is 199, which is like it's a hard black, but it's not ultra hard. Okay. All right. So let's push ahead. So the idea is you create this the tonal drawing with a sense of building up a sculptural 3-dimensional version of the head of this structure. And the grey paper helps enormously in creating a really good sense of form. It meets you halfway in a sense. Whereas, like if you worked on white paper, you'd have to create a lot of shading to create a halftone. But here the halftone is already there. All you need to do is help it along. It's a bit of a shadow falling on the drawing. Right, so, just take it a little bit, one step at a time, and, look at each of the groups, the muscle groups, the reference, just look at it carefully, and what it means, right? In terms of light and shade, where is the highlight forming? Is there a layer of skin that tucks under itself, like the cheek here? It's quite deep, very strong features. As I said, you'd expect that from an actor because they give a lot of performance and they build, a story in their faces, how much their faces are used. Kind of like, landforms, like the Grand Canyon in a way. So it's being formed by the action of water over millions of years. This is a similar sort of idea. But if you compare his youthful photographs, there's not a lot of change going on in his face. So he's had a pretty even keel, even range of expressions and possibilities and thoughts and tragedies and whatever goes through people's lives. They're it's in moderation, I think, or he's been able to at least tackle them quite well. So everything, don't take anything for granted, even teeth. So the teeth themselves are all, they have, like ears, they have a general shape, but everybody's teeth are different, and it's really up to you to capture that individual touch with a lot of these elements. Obviously, and keep in mind, perspective, right? So there's obviously more teeth showing on this side than the center, than the other side. Also keep in mind that there's a center line that cuts through all of these different forms, like so. Right? And that's important. It's important to remember. That helps with the proportions and the perspective. It's cool. There's some great shapes to play with here, I think, in the teeth. It's good fun. Lips are very weather-worn, very thin, but they're still present, so you have to refer to them and keep it within the context. So it doesn't look like there's a strong line at the bottom lip, so we'll have to be careful and make sure that that's not going to be a strong element, because if we do, it's inappropriate level of detail. So when you put shadows in, you think of the folding element of the skin of the tissue. All right. So remember, the light's coming down from here, so you're going to be really quite aware of shadows forming on this side. And it's going to be more evident, obviously, with the nose, but it's going to be more evident on this side of the face. I might actually build in an artificial reflected light coming in to break up the shadow area a bit. It doesn't have a strong cleft, but it is. It gives me the impression that it is there, although it's not very prominent. Right. So most of this is referring to the folds of skin, trying to keep everything, symmetrical as much as we can, but referring to the perspective. Now I'm changing these muscles quite a bit because I have decided to put the chin out. So I'm kind of changed these quite a lot over on this side of the face. But it'll make sense because I'm lining it up over on this side with this fantastic dimple, which is extremely powerful. And that just means that he is an actor and he talks a lot. So just use like a crosshatch type of pencil stroke to build up a little bit of tone, just to help it out a little bit. So it's coming together quite well. I like the relationships between these elements of the nose and the eyes and the mouth. And now we just continue on with an appropriate attention to the detail, given that we're changing the proportion. We've changed the proportion quite a lot. So it's the detail, but it's in the new zone. Okay, here we go. So looking good. I like that. Now let's have a look at the hair. So I think maybe we'll do a few strands, tufts of hair, and that'll balance that area above the temples on the other side. What else can we do? Oh, I like that. So I think what we'll do is eventually we're going to put like a reflected light on the side of the face, just to highlight that edge, and we might sort of build it up, make it more relevant by catching a few highlights on the form of the ear and maybe also on the hair as well. I need to refer back to the photos. The other photos, there's a bit of loose skin around the neck and some very strong folds across the neck. Don't know what they mean, have no idea. But it's there, and because it's there, I think it's worth putting in the drawing. So I'm putting in now the shadow, which is not so much in the photographs, but I need to refer to it because of the direction that we're establishing with the our drawing. Okay, so there's two tendons that come down on either side of the throat and form this sort of hollow area. So we're just going to try to play with that a little bit. Might just put the singlet too. See if we can. I don't want to sort of do too much detail down this area, but just the right amount would be helpful. Yeah, that's good. We can actually put a highlight down there. Maybe catch that tendon. Singlet, of course. And maybe some gloss on the shoulder muscle. Kind of nice. Maybe do the same on the other side and see what happens. So these, he's got lines in the snake, in the this era, the horizontal lines across the neck. They'll obviously become deeper. All right, so far so good. Let's try to make a stronger attempt at contrast now with some of these elements. To start with the pupils, and I've opted for very small pupils because makes his eyes lighter. And we'll carefully put edges on the irises, and then within the correct sort of level of darkness, the eyelashes and upper eyelids, creases. Beautiful pencil gives you the ability to darken a lot of these lines without committing to very heavy contours, very heavy outlines. So it just really, it's your choice. You can sort of attempt to help the darkening of some areas, some elements. You can sharpen things up too a little bit to a great extent, because the brown pencil does tend to blend a lot with the looseness of the undersketching, and also it's very close tonally to the grey paper, whereas the black is not. It's a bit more stronger. Now, the nose, because the nose is a three-dimensional form that comes out, I tend to, make that outline a little bit heavier as well. So what I'm doing here is making judgments as to what I can play with in terms of tone, make it a little bit darker, so clarify a lot of the lines, and just to help establish a hierarchy of light and dark, or light to dark, as much as I can. So I was a big Kurt Russell fan as a kid. I thought his performances were really believable. So he was a great actor, and some of the silly scenes, like the computer wore tennis shoes and things, really stupid science. A lesser actor would have bombed in those situations. So you really do need to convince the audience that this is a thing, and of course he had a great cast. Was Captain Binghamton, I think, was in a few of his films from McHale. So he had a lot of energy, and he's just a great character actor. So it's, growing up, you kind of get you're under the auspices of great performers who know how to create a believable character in a silly situation, and that helps. Now, if you wanted a sillier situation, then if you want to study silly situations, look it up in the dictionary. There's probably a picture there from Big Trouble in Little China. One of my favorite films. I love it. It's just everything there. It's a lot of action and silliness. So when you're drawing the hair from the photograph, refer to it, and it's sort of like combing the hair with a pencil in a way, so that you're aware of the direction, the curvature of the hair surfaces themselves. Hairs form they form in patterns or tufts, almost like ribbons sometimes, ribbons of hair. So that's handy to get a handle on drawing it without being overwhelmed by the sheer number or individual detail. It's up to you, of course. I don't have the patience really to do individual hairs. A lot of illustrators pride themselves in that that level of detail, but I just can't do it. I just literally don't have that that level of patience. It's great. Think about the direction of hairs, like eyebrow hairs, eyelash hairs, temple hairs, crown hairs. All of these are part of the little details that you want to try to capture a little bit of, so that you create a sense of unity and believability and truth in the caricature itself. I love this. It's kind of condensed, isn't it, in this little zone here. So it's a really nice, I think, thing to happen. And of course, that happens with exercising your possibilities. When you do a thumbnail, you're kind of working out a lot of pros and cons and pre-solving a lot of the problems that you need to understand or tackle in the illustration. These are great lines here. I love these lines. Alright, before we go down into the face, I think I'll do a little bit more work up here. Why not? So the character of Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China. It's really interesting. Never really, I have watched them, but I didn't sort of like focus on them like Big Trouble in Little China. The Snake Plissken films, Escape from LA, Escape from New York. Loved him in The Thing. I thought that was a great film. I actually liked the Howard Hawks thing from Another World from the 50s. It's a favourite of mine. I like to watch that every few months. I know a lot of people find it, well, that's corny, but it's just something about, Kenneth Tobey's ability to sell these monsters. Again, you need, silliness, you have to be a good actor. I mean, look at the, but by that measure, Dr. Smith is a frickin' genius. Yeah, he is. I have a feeling that the sillier the role, the more talent is needed to make it work. And it just makes it more not necessarily believable, but more interesting to look at. Because sometimes, we obviously know it's not believable. It's the, but it's not like Star Wars or even Star Trek. But nice performances nonetheless. Alright, so working down now, down the face, establishing those contrasts, the levels, the hierarchy of light to dark, thick to thin, of course, where pencil can kind of approximate a lot of the work of a brush or a pen. I like to think of it as a very versatile thing that can establish quite nicely a thick and thin stroke like this. So, at any given moment you can be subtle or quite strong. Right. This is good. So the lips are not have to be careful about when you outline lips, even though there's a thing, you know, these are lips, this is face, so put a line. Be very careful. The pencil, as I said, is a versatile tool, so you can draw hairs, you can draw shadows, you can draw outlines, and you can help establish a little bit stronger a lot of the tonal qualities that you've built with the brown pencil. So in essence, you're making those areas a little bit stronger, a little bit darker, but not committing to outlines or solid blacks. Now I've coloured this in, so it's quite black, isn't it? But, you know, I'm going to probably help it with a brush pen, and we'll see just how much, how different that would be, how much blacker that would be, and if it can kick up a little bit more contrast, you know, I wouldn't object to that. I think that's fun. Love these particular shapes here of the teeth, you know, so referring back to the original photograph, to the reference, of course. Again, be careful about outlining things like the lips. You can help out the contrasts a little bit, the shading here and there, but keep it within a workable context that makes sense to the overall elements. This is very strong. We're going to articulate that a little bit better with a brush pen, I think. It would be helpful. Alright, nearly there. Good. Challenges now with the pencil, making thicker, stronger outlines around these contours, these shapes. Now, even though I've exaggerated them, I have referenced the actual shapes in that area that I'm actually describing or exaggerating. You know, like these lines here, you know, the horizontal lines across the throat. Just help the shadow out a bit, to delineate it, make it more noticeable as a shadow falling on the neck. Okay, I think that should be fine. Let's try to fix up this ribbon while we're down here. Okay. Okay, here we go. Now we've done the brown, we've done the black pencil. I do have other tools like white paint pens. This is a Posca. This is helpful for establishing light points, but before we do that, I might just help out the black lines here and there with a brush pen. Again, like I did with the black pencil, helping out the contrasts against the brown pencil. This black brush will help kick out some of the details of the black. So things like outer, you want stronger contours around these forms, you know, thick and thin relationships. here and there. And then this will help. And I remember before I said with the nose, because it's 3D, it's coming out of the face. Could probably stand a little bit of thickening like that. So now it looks like it's coming out a little bit more. So the thickening of lines are to establish a dominance or hierarchy of shapes that are more important because they've got a bolder outline. It's drawing attention to them. It's also creating a stronger contrast between the background. Oh, I went a bit heavy with that. Okay, that doesn't matter. I'll live with it. And it just makes it, in inking terms, I think it's called crisper. Crisper just means it's got a sharper edge. And just looks a little bit clearer, bolder. You know what? I've forgotten his mullet. So let's do that. Actually, make these help out these black points. That will help kick out his teeth even more. Cool. I forgot this. So let's go back to this shot here. So it's important. It's shaggy, but I think it's important to refer to it. And because of the ear, I think you can safely put a shadow so that the head is casting a shadow over the hair itself. It actually goes up, doesn't it? So you can shaggy it more. That's fine. That'll do. Okay. Good-o. Where were we? Okay. Now, if that's dry, it's not quite dry. We can get to it with some white. So again, like you were looking at drawing the pupil first with the black, with the white, try to capture some of the lighter points, which are reflections in shiny parts of the skin. Teeth have a strong light reflection because they're very glossy and porcelain-like. And generally, tonally, they're lighter than the skin, but they're not white. But that's all right because I'll be establishing I'm just lightening them with this. It's not white yet. That's cool. Let's go back to, actually, before we do that, let's try to get some of these highlights in the hair. Okay. All right. Go back to that photo. So are you referring to the lighter parts of the form, things that are catching light, and let's use help. We're going to lean on this paper so we don't continually lean across the illustration. I'm going to put another side light in on this side, just a touch, I think, just to help out a little bit. And we're going to hit it with a white pen in a moment, so it'll be a bit stronger. careful that the pencil doesn't pick up any of the black lines. See, it's still wet. Workman always blames a bad workman always blames his tools, isn't it? It depends where you put your hammer. I put my hammer on black, pick it up, and it's going to drop black everywhere. So be careful where you put them. When you come close to that black line that you've painted in, right, the pencil is going to pick up some of that black. While it's wet. So I'm not using the white to colour in, I'm just establishing little hot spots here and there that kind of make the drawing more three-dimensional. So I'm relying very much on the grey paper underneath to establish the tonal base for this work. Some great set of textures I'm finding in this face, some beautiful shiny bits and matte bits. Remember, his eyes are quite light, the irises, I mean. There we go. There's a lot of light patterns that are, not just the skin color, but the reflections as well. So there's a lot, while you're drawing, it kind of occurs to you why it's there. Why is this lighter than this? So the glossier parts where there's oil, obviously reflect more light because it's shinier. Also, sometimes when there's a heavy shadow right next to it, if you put a highlight like this cheek area here or this area here, it draws a beautiful sense of contrast. So it's a balance between sharp and smooth. The sharp highlights, smooth transitions. And there should be oil there, or it should be shinier. Over there. What else? I think we're going to fix this side light up in a few moments with a brush pen. So it'll make a bit more sense out of what I'm trying to say here. And this is a nice round transition. So it's a softer highlight, using a sort of a hatch line effect for the pencil. I think it's kind of nice. It kind of feels very much like coarse skin. You wouldn't use it probably on, let's try to help that double crease here a little bit. You wouldn't use it on very smooth skin. You'd be having very close hatch lines rather than broad, thick ones. Okay. Cool. Let's have a look at that neck again. Get back to that. Okay, cool. All right, now let's go to it with a stronger intention. I think this area, it's still a bit tacky. So we'll be careful. We'll lean on the paper a bit more. Get back to the reference. So the paint pen really kicks out a lot of these smaller highlights you need to establish for some drama. Remember, there's this where it's not in the photograph, but I like to put it in sometimes. It gives it an artificial three-dimensional quality. These rim lights or side lights, however you want to describe them. Again, the same thing. You're not colouring in, you're just helping out some of the hottest areas, hottest spots with a little bit of help. That will work. That's kind of nice, I like that. Appropriate level of detail. I think it's working quite well. I have a funny feeling that the structure's working, the three-dimensional properties, they feel right. It just feels nice. Oops. Oh, I don't like that at all. Clean this brush a bit. Yeah, there you go. Now I'll go into the sweaty part of the neck. Good. All right. Don't like that much, but we'll hide it. There you go. All right. So so far so good. There is another thing that we can use, which is a brush pen version of the Posca marker. So that is it's opaque. It's an opaque marker, but it has a thick and thin brush head. A brush head which you can get thick and thin strokes. And a certain amount of feathering would be good to help out here and there with some of these details. Just feather them a little bit from the pen line that I used before, the white pen. Ooh, and there's a bit of a stronger one there, that's all right. Will do. Good thing about these markers is they don't really react to the pencil, so it can really clean up and sharpen a lot of the elements that you draw. Alright, that's good. I'm going to cut it in with a black pen. I'm going to go with a black Posca, and I'm going to fill in the sky. It's quite dries opaque and flat, which is fantastic. So back in the days when we used to use Indian ink for this part, Indian ink pooled together and made it really difficult. It was shinier and quite unpredictable. So I think for many years that's all I used Indian ink for, is to fill in the backgrounds. Have a sort of a night sky in this negative space element that I've created to show off the balance and composition. So it's just a very simple device so that the face doesn't, or the head doesn't float on the page. You've given it a little bit of context, a little bit of environment, even though it's black. It's like a window, and the caricature can sort of pop out from the window itself and create a nice strong shape. So this is kind of not going right up to the pencil line, of course. I'm staying a little bit back from it, so to keep it almost a respectful distance, like creating a double contour, which of course is a good way of enhancing that line, making it clearer again. This drawing is, at this level, it's really quite an interesting battle of context and content, and a lot of the elements can be lost in the detail. So you need to continually clarify the argument, so to speak, between the elements, the light and the shade, and the detail, etc. Remember, as I said to you before, caricature, for me at least, is a matter of a dialogue between exaggeration and simplification. Simplification, of course, is a graphic design principle for clarifying the message, or clarifying the image, or clarifying the creative, so that it's not ambiguous, it's not being hidden by details that interfere in the message, the main message of the design. So even like composition, for example, the more details you put into the image, the less obvious the principles of composition are visible. It just becomes a little bit of overwhelm. Believe it or not, I mean, you're looking at this and think, yeah, it's so slow, but this is a lot faster than brush and ink. A lot faster. And dries a lot faster too. And beautifully dries flat. And that's good too, because it's not reflective, it doesn't shine too much, and also it's good for what else? What are the other properties? It doesn't go through the page, for example, which is a horrible thing to happen. lose more paper that way. Let's finish him up now. K-U-R-T. Yes, I have to spell it out. Otherwise, I will make a mistake. I like it. That's my take on Kurt Russell. And there's the before and after. You can see that all of the elements are there. I've made some changes, obviously, with perspective and scale, proportion. But I've really looked at the muscles and the arrangement of shapes around his face. I think quite... I've made an analysis of them, and I think I've referred to them with the pencil quite well. So I'm a happy chappy. I like this very much. Very big fan of Kurt Russell, and this is my take on Kurt. This is my version. So this is Kurt Russell. This is Frantz Kantor, and I will catch you on the flip side.